Hey guys, how we doing? Master Oliver will be here just shortly here. We'll be starting in just a couple minutes, okay?
Hey, Grandmaster Smith. Now we get the picture of Grandmaster Smith.
Hello.
Howdy, howdy.
Hey, Jan, how you doing?
Good. Just getting rained out in Daytona.
Oh, you're in Daytona. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're on a 2-week beach vacation.
Oh, cool. When I hear Daytona, it's like about motorcycles or racing.
Looks like this is a member meeting almost. Hey, Rudy.
Hi, how are you?
Good, sir. Good. How about yourself?
Yeah, good. Thank you very much.
Good. How you doing, Mr. Pellery?
Doing good, sir. Good to see everyone again. Just got back.
Yes, sir. Gotcha. I guess we're...
Master Oliver should be here any second. We were just on another call, and he said he would jump over to that line.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You bet. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just start using Schedule Once. Do you have a document to help us? I know you have a lot of tutorial video, but do you have something for martial arts?
Well, there's not anything specific for martial arts with Schedule Once. I mean, Schedule Once itself is you set your account up, and you can do an enterprise version of that where you can put your own custom emails and custom text in. But the pro version, which is like I think $19 a month, there's I think an even cheaper version. Once you go through the kind of the step-by-step process of once you sign up for the account, it walks you through the step-by-step process. And then what'll happen is at one point it'll ask you how frequently do you want to email and text people.
Yeah.
And you want to basically select like everything.
Yeah, I think I'll do 4 times.
Yeah. Yeah, but don't chicken out on that.
Is that any different for Canada?
No, I thought I was not able to because I have no French, but I found something, so I can change location. So a couple of words are in French, but I send them a message, and they told me I can't custom every template, notification template. So I can put everything in French, but I will have to be on business plan, like the second plan, the expensive one.
Okay. Yeah.
What you can do is have 2 booking pages. So it's like, so you have one booking page and another booking page, one for English and one for French. And then each of them would follow, you just set up, if they're English speaking, you set them on this booking page. If they're French speaking, you set them on this booking page.
Well, Rudy, do you have both, or are you just worried about everything being in French?
Can you repeat, please?
Do you need English and French, or just French?
French, only French.
Right. And I think that's what you need, the enterprise system, so that it.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a customer in my dojo, so I will come back in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay?
Go make some money.
I'll be right back. See if I can adjust my lighting a little bit here. But okay, so Master Moody, tentatively tomorrow we may have Joe Gallia back to talk about what they've updated with that Meet Me app as well. I know you've used it a fair amount already. I had explored and learned about it, but hadn't used it all that much.
The mobile, which one? The mobile.
The mobile, it does the mobile landing pages for
Yeah.
Facebook. It does texting and email and voice
Yeah.
broadcast.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up what that account, I'm not using that because who were the guys that did that?
Joe Galley.
Joe Galley?
Yeah.
I'm worried I'm going to say the name wrong. Yeah, Mind Me Mobile.
Oh, Mind Me. Okay, there you go.
mindmemobile.com, and that does it doesn't do what Schedule Once does, but it sort of does text message campaigns, mobile landing pages, and that kind of thing.
Well, since I see mostly our members on here so far, is we'll have him to show us their updates and so forth tomorrow, I think. And I'm looking through here now. They are set up now to integrate with Constant Contact, MailChimp, Aweber, and Infusion, among others. So before they didn't have an API bridge to do those. Now they've got it integrated. So that's helpful for a lot of our people as well. So anyway, well, we're on summer marketing, and we've got one or two more of these sessions left, Master Smith. But let's start with, and again, I see mostly our current members on here. Questions or issues that have risen so far from anything that we've talked about in the last 6 weeks.
Sir, I have a question. This is
Go ahead.
Jan. My question is, on the last call, you guys were talking about, like doing a 2-interview sale. We've always we'll do a thing over the weekend. We'll invite everyone there Monday night, and we'll try to close them right then and there. Are you not recommending that?
Well, explain to me what you mean, and let me paraphrase first. You're saying, if you do a movie or something like that, you'll just schedule an intro as a group on Monday and then try to close them when they come in the first time as a group?
Yes, sir.
I don't recommend that.
Right.
Okay.
You get one that brings up an objection, then everybody has that objection.
Yeah, to back it up, I'm the guy that always tries to enroll people on the first lesson too, but we never do that with the group intros.
Well, we do take them separately. Like we do a group intro,
Mhm.
and then we take them separately. Like we'll each take one into our office, and we'll try to close them then. But we're only
Okay.
getting about maybe 25% of them, Rachel, would you say? I think that's about all we get that close on that first night.
Probably, how many would you have in a class?
Not very many. We usually will invite maybe 15, and we end up getting 7 or 8, something like that. And then usually 1 or 2 or maybe 3 will meet with us privately, and the rest just want to schedule their 2 weeks, and they're not really interested in doing anything at that night.
Well,
Yeah.
let's analyze it for a second, Jan, and then I'll turn over to you, Master Smith or Master. The first part is, and now we've got me as Jeff Smith. I guess I can change my name here on the screen. But the first part of it, Jan, is what you're saying is your closing rate's 25%. Okay.
On the first night
So-
with these people coming.
What's your?
Cool.
I'm going to mute whoever is. Actually, I don't have control, so whoever has control, I actually end up last in the list, not first. Probably Jeff.
I'll do it.
Okay, but Jan, do you know what your overall closing rate is to enrollment using your current process?
I have to unmute.
Jan?
I think she's muted. She has to unmute herself.
Master Smith, can you mute that one that says T, whoever that is, and Jan, can we unmute Jan?
Yep.
Here we go. Good job, Master Smith.
Okay. Jan, you have to unmute.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
It's about 65% overall. Obviously, referrals are about 80% or something. And then if we do a group intro that we've, like at the movies, then that's about 25% the first night. They usually come back and maybe we'll get another 25% of them.
Okay, and the ones that you are enrolling on that, what is the enrollment? How much are they paying down? How much monthly? How long?
We do the yearly enrollment. We tell them our normal rate is $399 down and then $90 every 2 weeks. But for tonight only, if you enroll tonight, you can enroll for $199 down and $75 every 2 weeks, which turns out to be about $163 a month, which is a little lower than our normal enrollment would be at $90 every 2 weeks, which is $205.
Yeah, well, Jan, we've got to get you up into the current century on pricing, but that's a lot lower than I'd like to see. You start out number one. There is an argument about whether you should do intro and enroll same day, or intro 1, intro 2, and enroll after the second intro. I tend to come down with all adults. I want to try to enroll mostly after the first, occasionally push to a second because husband and wife, I don't have both of them, or I don't get paid till the 15th, something like that. With kids, I prefer intro 1, intro 2, enroll after the second. Now, I've seen people with very tight ratios, Master Moody certainly included, who do most of the enrollments after the first lesson. I'm absolutely fine with that if we've got both decision makers there and we've prepped them pretty well to have credibility about the program, sent them testimonials, sent them information before they come in, so they have a pretty good basis for value, right? It does put extra pressure on, and that's probably even the wrong way to say it, because there's a lot of pressure on that first lesson just to get them to come back the next time and to get them enrolled. But you've got to make sure that first experience is really tight, really, really strong. That having been said, Jan, is if you're doing a movie theater promotion and you're enrolling half of them or more, then the ratios are fine, right?
Master Oliver, let's clarify that with Jan, though. So, Jan, you're saying you're getting 25% on day one, but what I think Master Oliver is saying is if you've got 10 people from a movie theater or an event promotion that you invite, long-term, over the next week or two or however the process goes, how many total do you enroll, whether it's on the first day or the second day?
He said at least 50%.
Well, I'm not sure if that's actually true, though. Rachel might know better. We keep good statistics, but it's overall statistics. So those specific things, Rachel, would you say? I don't think it's 50%. Maybe 30 or 40, Rachel, total?
On normal non-booths, it's over 50%. But for those group intros that we do, it's usually, that's where it comes to like the 25% that we're enrolling. We honestly enroll very few after that first introductory class. Like if they are, do a trial membership, we wait till 2 weeks. Usually.
So take back anything positive I just said. You've got to. That's a horrible closing rate. It should be worst case 50%, possibly 65, 70, 75%, right? From the flakiest of sources, and that's of the ones who showed up for the intro. I'm not talking about of the ones that made an appointment, and. So one, I don't particularly like the presentation. It's something we can talk about a little bit more later. Jan, you're stuck on the every 2 week thing. That's fine. We've talked about that in the past. I would say your pricing is, at least if you're going to do every 2 weeks, it's got to be over $100 every 2 weeks. Most of our schools that are doing halfway decent are now in the $247 a month range. Or more.
Well, that's also because when you do the upgrade, you're going to be over 100 every 2 weeks, and so now you're going to shock them when you go from 2 digits to 3 digits. Yeah,
and again, I don't like the every 2 week thing, but we've had that conversation before. I prefer, it's normally in Master Smith, you like that the monthly is going to be lower if you enroll today too. Again, I don't particularly like that. I've always just done, it's normally $600 to enroll. If you register today, we give you a $300 discount, so it's just $300 in the first month. Plus, we'll give you the, if it's something like they came in on a 6-week offer, plus we'll give you the 6 weeks free in addition, but then I tack that on at the end, right? But there is an argument either way. But one thing is your conversion rate is at least half, if not worse than what it should be. And on a relatively cold lead, right? I did a movie theater, I did a fair, I did a carnival, whatever it is, and I just kind of hijacked them at an event. They take more warming up, more education, more dripping on them, more educational material, more mailing to them than the others do, right? I mean, if it's a referral, there seems to be some kind of weird static on your end for whatever reason. It keeps lighting up that weirdness is coming from your end. I don't know why.
Yeah, I was having trouble, so I'd use my audio on my phone. So I'm going to mute when I'm not talking.
Yeah. Again, no diagnosis other than it indicating it's from you. But again, so when it comes from, I went out to this weekend to the movie theater to Incredibles, and I've never heard of you before. And this seems like it might be a cool thing. And by the way, we won this free deal. Well, they're pretty cold, right? So we just had this conversation for an hour with our Mile High Schools is, one of the things we're always doing at the live events, which Master Moody will surprise you no end. Neither the Thornton or the Westminster School had been doing this, even though we've told them to 9,822 times, is we share that V-card information. We share the contact information. That helps to improve the show rate. It helps to improve them answering the phone. It's not directly responsive to your question, Jan, but the other thing I would do at wherever I'm at is a series of text messages, queuing them in, preferably with taking them to YouTube videos or taking to your website with videos about your program. I would be using Schedule Once or something comparable like we were talking about a minute ago, so they get 4 text messages, all custom designed, 4 emails, all custom designed. We have, for the schools, the emails have links to not only to reschedule their appointment if they need to, but it has links to watch information and get more information about the program. I have no way of tracking what the efficacy of that is. In other words, how many of those people actually go watch it. But I would, if it's any time lag at all, get something physical in the mail. Now, if I made the appointment on Sunday and they're coming in on Monday, the only value of the thing in the mail really is if they no-show, to prompt them to call you back to reschedule if you haven't rescheduled. But, I mean, I was just telling our guys, they make the appointment on Friday, put a postcard in the mail with a live stamp Friday night. They may get it by Monday. But I would use that level of urgency to follow up. The actual process there, Jan, on the one day is, so now what we're hearing from Rachel is essentially what's happening is they're teaching a big group intro. And then in some way saying, anybody who wants to enroll, come over here. Anybody who doesn't want to enroll, we can schedule your next time. And I guess most of those people probably don't show up. Would that be a correct statement, Rachel?
Yeah, it is, pretty much. And we do have them all, usually it's me, all come talk to me afterwards and either schedule their class with me or schedule, answer any questions they have, go over our specials, that kind of thing, in more depth with them. But yeah, if they schedule their next class, usually they don't show for the trial membership unless they were going to
role play for us real quick what you're saying as a group.
Okay. When they're in the introductory class, that's when we have a board with our special for that night on it. And it has what, Master Lappin went over, our discount for that evening. And then when they're
I do stop doing that.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, keep going.
Okay. So no, stop doing the board. Like, don't have it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, so far, get rid of the board, but keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, we're a group of students who just took the first lesson. Give us the pitch. What are you going to say?
Okay. So we during their class, as they're kind of ending, we
took the class. So we're now huddled up around you with parents. Give us the presentation.
Right. So we do that on the floor, right at the end of their class. We do it right there.
Okay.
So we, you know, I explain that our normal rates are this, and this is what our
So
special.
you do it. We're the class.
Oh, yes, sir.
You're
Okay, so
You're explaining how to do it rather than just do it.
doing it. Yes.
I want to hear what you actually say.
Okay. So what I'll say is, okay, I bring out the board, which we won't do anymore. And our normally our registration is $399, and then it's our tuition after that is $90 every 2 weeks for a 1-year program. If you enroll tonight, when you enroll tonight, you'll save $200 on the registration. So the registration will be $199, and then the tuition goes down to $75 every 2 weeks. And then we have another option where you can do a 2-month membership for $199. And I do explain that includes their uniform, and we go over our after school program special as well, 50% off of the registration for the after school program. And then I ask all the parents, if you have any questions, come see me, or if when you're ready to schedule their next trial membership class, come see me. And throughout the class, the whole time they're doing the class, I do go around and talk to each one of the parents. If they have any questions, kind of pull them to the side.
Role play that.
Okay.
You're talking to Master Smith. He's one of the parents. I always hate for anybody to explain to me what they do, because it's never actually what they do.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Right? What's the script?
Okay.
And by the way, body language wise, Master Smith and Master Moody are looking for their blood pressure meds right at this time. I don't believe either one of them are on it, but I could see the skin tone change. It went from kind of neutral to not a nice tan, but a red. I could see on video the veins in Master Moody's head popping and pulsating. So, but you're role playing one-on-one with is that a fair statement, Master Moody?
Yeah, exactly, sir. Thank you.
I was watching Master Moody's facial expression.
Tell that she hasn't done much role play.
Well, no, that's not what I mean by that. But go ahead. So Master Smith is a parent, and his daughter is Jessica, who's 8. Do the conversation one-on-one.
At the end, or what I would do during the class?
During the class.
Okay, so I might go up to Mr. Smith and say, Jessica's doing a great job. Has she ever taken karate before? And just start a conversation with them. Ask Mr. Smith, what are you hoping Jessica to gain for martial arts? If you know, depending on if she's trained before and that kind of thing. If it's
so ask him. So wait.
Yeah.
So ask him.
Sorry.
So ask him. Do it.
Mr.
Ask him.
Smith, what are
Ask
you
him.
looking for Jessica to gain for martial arts?
Well, I thought it would be good for her to have a little self-defense.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, we do have 4 main areas where a lot of parents seek out martial arts to see development in their kids. Are you looking, I'm just going to ask you to rate those your top to least priorities for Jessica. So those are confidence, self-discipline. Sorry, I'm really on the spot right now, you guys. I apologize. I promise I do have this script very well done.
You're fine, Rachel. You're fine.
Rachel, let me tell you what happens is when you're doing staff training, is every staff member says, "Oh, I've got this down. I'm fine I'm with a student. I'm just nervous in front of you. I'm just nervous in this environment," which is horseshit, because it is don't excuse my language. I usually would be stronger than that, because it's just like martial arts. When I say, here's the shield and your partner's going to move forward, and I want you to kick them to keep them from attacking you. And it's just like saying, oh, I'm fine in a dark alley after I've been out at a restaurant for 2 hours and had 2 glasses of wine. I'm just nervous in class with you watching me. Okay? Same thing. When you're in the school environment and it's noisy and somebody threw something at you from left field and you're trying to juggle 5 plates and you're trying to remember which kid is which and what their names are, it's a much more intense and less forgiving environment than right here, because we're being pretty nice about it. Okay, Jan, Here's the good news, is we're going to rip up these systems, and with no more effort, no more marketing, you're going to double the number of enrollments that you do within the next 30 days.
Sounds
Okay.
great.
The bad news is this system has to be ash-canned, take a match to it, and anything that you know on that script, Rachel, never say it again, okay? Now, here is what I want, okay? You're having nice rapport-building conversation with Master Smith, but that's all conversation that should have been had on the phone when you're doing the confirmation, and or worst case, on the way in the door. Because by the time you're having that mat chat, bench chat with a parent, and by the way, I'd rather them be taking the class so that they're not available to do that, right? So let's anchor that in. But by the time you're doing that, you should know all this stuff, right? So you should know why they're there, what they're interested in, what their background is. If I, let's say I did some live event, I made 150 appointments in 2 hours, it happens. Well, I haven't had much time to build any rapport out there. But by telephone and other communication, I hopefully have had a conversation or two. I should have some mechanism for keeping notes on everybody so that I know every conversation we've had on the way in the door, okay? Number two is the emphasis that you're doing after the class is almost 100% about finances. And it really isn't about benefits, enthusiasm, and desire, okay? And so my script for after the first lesson is, and this is assuming I'm not going to enroll them after the first lesson, right? And by the way, it's if you wanted to go to milehighkarate.com/second lesson, SEOND lesson, you get the idea, all one word. It has this specifically, in fact, it has a poorly lit video of me saying this, okay? It also has a handout where in bullet point form is saying this. But my script is, which I've done about 10,000 times, if even once, and all of my staff, I should be able to wake them up at 4 a.m. With a loud banging trash can and say, give me the first intro reschedule, and they've got it down, okay? Okay, so everybody, and well, this would usually be more one-on-one, but as a group, okay, everybody, hopefully you had a great time today. I've got a lot of information here about the program. What we really want you to do is go home tonight, talk about level of interest, desire to continue, talk about why you were here for the class, what you're trying to accomplish. Now, parents, keep in mind, what you want for your son or daughter may well be a different thing than why they want to do it, right? Is the kids may find this or that to be fun, and that's what they're excited, and you may well be looking for more focus in school, better discipline at home, more help at home, right? But be thinking about and talking about explicitly as a family what benefits you want to get from your child or yourself taking classes, why and what was fun, why you want to do it. Here's a schedule. What I'd like you to do is mark the 2 times a week that are going to work for you. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same 2 times every week, but we find generally if you have Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, or whatever it might be as your martial arts class day, that's the best. Here's the student creed. What we would like to do is have all the kids memorize the student creed between today and the next class. And if they memorize the student creed, they'll earn their white belt. So work at home on that. Work on having that memorized. Now, for the next class, there's a couple parents who didn't take class today. I'd recommend you take class. It's a wonderful thing to do as a family. At the very least, it'll give you a better idea of what your child is going to be doing. But also at the next class, what we're going to do is we're going to do a thorough review, evaluation, and we'll sit down and go over the program structure and one thing or another. Now, we do require both parents, anybody who's going to be involved in transportation, finances, et cetera, to be there. So we want to make sure that, father, mother, sometimes grandma, whoever is going to be involved with all that is here, so we can make sure we get a strong start and and get going. So as a review, and a lot of times we're doing a free uniform. So we've measured you for the uniform there. When you come in before the class, we'll get the uniform. Come in for the class with having memorized the creed. Also, parents, we have this self-discipline sheet, and we want them, and I'll cut it off there, but you get the idea, right? And again, if you go to milehighkarate.com/second lesson, it has all that information. This is predicated on it being a 2-intro process. Oh, and Bob, you just posted it there in the chat bar, which I strangely don't have disabled. But
I know you don't like the chat, but I figured that in this case it might help.
Well, what I'm always amazed with is you'll have people who are 6th-degree black belts who are afraid to talk on video, and then they'll put all their questions in the chat bar. And I don't like to be trying to talk, listen, control, and read at the same time.
Yeah, we won't respond. So we won't respond to your chats, but we might post stuff.
That's right.
Yes, Robert. Would the handouts that Master Smith had on that Sterling, Virginia meeting help Rachel? Like the intro questionnaire?
That's on that.
Oh, it's on the second lesson? Okay. All right.
Yeah. In fact, including as a PDF download. But Rachel, the first thing is, I don't like talking about money to a group, right? Now, the second thing is all of the conversation about we're going to do an enrollment conference or we're going to schedule your second lesson. I would rather have that happen on the way in the door one-on-one. Okay? So before they get there, not after the class, and not in a group preferably. Now, I've had intro classes that I taught that were like 42 people. Well, yeah, I had the sheet and we went through and tried to schedule the time and so forth. But mostly what I would prefer to do is they're walking in the door. I'm having them fill out our information sheet. I'm asking them questions, learning a little bit more about what they're looking for and building rapport and so forth right then and there. But at the same time, I am scheduling the next lesson at that point. Or if I'm going to do an enrollment conference, I'll schedule them to do the enrollment conference. Now, whether you want to do the enrollment conference or not is not dependent upon I have disclosed all the finances to you, right? Now, when you want to do like a first lesson or a second lesson discount, right, as you're doing, is I don't give them all the specifics. And you're right, once you've given them the specifics, if they walk out the door, they're not going to come back 99% of the time, right? What you're doing, in essence, without you holding their hand, looking them in the face, answering objections, helping them through any difficulties, is you're saying, here's the price. Do you want to do it or not? If you want to do it, raise your hand, come in the office, right? Well, the ones that walk in the office are a lay down. But all the others, you could have gotten another 30 or 40% of them by just having a better conversation with them and not hitting that over the head with them too early. Does that make sense so far? Okay.
Yeah,
but
this is a common problem. I was going to say this is a common problem that we have, that you guys are so fixated on price, and this is a general comment. I don't think necessarily in Jan's case, in Rachel's case, is always the case. But we get so fixated on worried about price that we actually knock them over the head on price way too early when they're not ready to hear price. And so these are principles that apply to your regular intro too.
Absolutely. The other thing I would say about that is, well, I never finished the thought before. If I'm going to give them the first lesson or the second lesson discount as a point of leverage to get them to enroll today or next time, I'm going to do it more in the fashion of, let's say they came in from some other offer. They came in from a 6-week summer special offer. I'm going to do it in the fashion of, now, Ms. Jones, you came in for the 6-week Children's Hospital fundraiser. Thank you so much for the donation to them. If you go ahead and finalize your enrollment with the school, and I even skipped a step on the script, I would say obviously most people who are coming in for 6 lessons or 6 weeks, they don't want to do a 6-week martial arts program, what they're looking to do is evaluate this and see if it's a good fit as an ongoing thing to enroll in martial arts. Wouldn't you agree? Yes. Okay. So what we find is most of the kids, most of the families have enough information after the first couple lessons to make a decision about that. If you want to do that, we'll go ahead and give you a $300 credit for what you've already paid for the Children's Hospital, and we'll still give you the 6 weeks free added to the program. But what we would want to do is make a decision and finalize that next class to get that credit. Now, see how that's different than what we did? And by the way, with the way you're presenting the tuition, it's normally this, it's now this, it's normally this, it's now this. I understand how you're pricing the tuition. I understand how, and it even confuses me a little bit. I have to sit and think about it. Somebody who doesn't know what you're talking about, you confuse them. And the rule number one is always a confused prospect does nothing. What they say in their mind, sometimes they say to you, is we're going to go home and think about it, meaning I'm not sure I understood what you said, so we're going to go figure out what you said, and then we'll make a decision on what we're doing, but they never figure it out. Does that make sense?
That's why I like just giving the discount on the down payment rather than giving the discount on the down payment and the monthly, because that makes the paper that you're writing this on more complicated. It makes the whole process more complicated. I just want to give them the down payment, raise the down payment to $597 or $600, then give them the discount on the down payment, and then don't worry, leave the monthly alone.
Yeah, I prefer it that way, truth be told.
If you offer that other program at the same time with everybody, then they're more than likely to try that one first, rather than if you give them the other, most of them will sign up for that, and the ones who don't, use the other one as a fallback. Don't let them know that that's there, because everybody will want to do that.
I would say it differently. Get the hell rid of that 2-month deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Eliminate that.
Exactly. Get rid of that.
You don't need it.
One question I had.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Okay. Hello?
Go ahead, Derek.
You have a question?
Derek, you there?
I think Derek was just unmuted and talking to somebody else.
Okay.
Okay.
I did.
Okay.
And he unmuted himself again, so he might have had a question. If you have another question,
Okay.
Derek, unmute yourself.
Yeah, but don't talk to a group about finances, preferably at all. But if you do it in a more circumspect way. One, because you don't want to confuse them. Two is you just get it. You're the money gal. You're not the martial artist. It's kind of the way it comes across. And three, you're asking them to make financial decisions in a vacuum without holding their hand on all the other things that's going to be wonderful about what you're doing. Okay. Now, on the 2-month deal, there are better ways to handle that. And I know there's two situations. One situation is you run an offer. It could be a charitable fundraiser. It could be a summer program special, whatever. If you're running an offer that is $200 for 2 months, let's say, get the money on the phone, on the website, or worst case, on the way in the door, right? Before they ever take a class. And then the enrollment is converting where we're applying the $200 to the regular enrollment. In fact, we're going to double it for you. We're still going to give you the 2 months free if you go ahead, right? I mean, that's what you're doing, right? And never run an offer externally that's like a Groupon offer that you then let them come in for a free lesson and then decide if they want to do the cheap offer or if they want to do the normal enrollment. Never do that, right? So, and again, $200 for 2 months is half of what whatever it was, the down payment plus the weekly is. Why wouldn't I do 2 months and then do it afterwards? Now, I doubt if most of them do that, because the way you're doing, you're screening out everybody except the ones that are pretty serious, and you're not getting any of them that are on the fence. Does that make sense?
Mr. Oliver, can I ask a question of Rachel too?
Yeah.
Rachel, when you're doing the presentation, are you wearing a martial arts uniform?
It honestly depends on the day. Sometimes I teach the introductory class and, present the special. Sometimes our head instructor Miss Lappin teaches a class and introduces that special. And sometimes it's a combination. It just depends on what size the group and how our, what our plan is that day.
I would get it where you're always in uniform.
Okay.
Right.
As a martial artist, well, they're expecting you to be a martial artist. They want to talk to a martial artist, not a secretary or somebody who's just taking.
Or a salesperson. They don't want to talk to a salesperson.
Or the money.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Master Oliver was talking about. You don't want to be the money guy. So your relationship with people when you're going to ask them for money should be 80% or 90% not money and then 10% money. You know, the idea is we sign them up for the beginner program or basic program or whatever, and that's a year, and then we upgrade them to like a 4 or 5 year program. We didn't have to ask them about money that many times. We asked them for money, you know, a $2,000 or $3,000 program, then we asked them for about a $20,000 or $30,000 program. And that's the end of it. We didn't really talk to you about money that much. So your relationship with them is not all money, 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 money. But yet you've started this relationship with them where as a big group, we're going to go, hey guys, here's a big board and we're going to talk about money. And that's your beginning of your relationship. See how that changes a little bit. So we want to kind of think about it from that point of view. Martial arts uniform, it's a martial arts relationship. We're talking to you about your goals and what you're going to do. Then the money thing is just how you're going to accomplish that.
Yeah, and doing in essence, what you're asking them to do is, here's all the prices, here's the term, make a decision, and if you've made a decision to move forward, come in and talk to me, right? As a more general principle, whether it's a birthday party, a group intro, some other event, never have the decision making on the next step at the end. Always have it on the way in the door, okay? So if you have a birthday party of 40 people, make their next appointment on the way in the door. Number two is never create an environment, I didn't catch if this is what's happening or not, but I would never create an environment with everybody who wants to come over here and talk to me. Never do that, right? It's always, again, now let's use a different example of a birthday party. I schedule them for their next session on the way in when I'm getting the information sheet, right? I'm not waiting until the end. So I'm getting the information sheet, asking them questions, building as much rapport as time allows, learning as much. On an enrollment, what I'm doing is, you know, if you think about the old TV show MASH, I'm doing triage, right? They're coming in the door, and what I'm doing with myself is asking trial enrollment questions, right? So what in your current system, if you in essence did trial enrollment questions on the way in, you're going to get 25% who say they're ready to enroll today. You can go ahead and enroll them today. Then you're going to get the other 75%, you're going to schedule them for another class. Now, you might not get 100% show with them, but you should get 80 or 90% show. And then you'll close, you know, at least another 50 or 60% of those that show up. Does that make sense? But it's an important consideration to always deal with the next step on the way in the door, preferably on a one-on-one basis. And I've had, let's say, an after-school enrichment program. We did a graduation. We had 100 kids show up. Well, we put a table across the front door, somebody there, passed out clipboards with the sheets in the line that was forming down the sidewalk, gave them the thing to fill out on the way, had somebody else starting at the front of the line, working their way back, scheduling their next appointment before they came in, you know, asking additional information, building rapport, one thing or another. In worst case, when they got to the table, they weren't allowed in the school until the next appointment is scheduled, right? And some of them say, well, I got to talk to my wife, I got to talk to my husband, I got to check on soccer schedule, I don't have my calendar with me. You know, they all say that, and it's the same as if I was doing a booth at the movie theater. The answer is, well, let's look at the schedule. Obviously, it's going to be pretty busy. Let's set the time tentatively that you think might work. We'll pencil it in. I'm certainly going to give you our phone number, email address, etc. And if that time ends up not being good when you go look at the soccer schedule, when you go talk to his dad, whatever it might be, then we'll happy to reschedule that. Just let us know. So you essentially want 100% of them scheduled for their next appointment before they get in the door. Jan, Rachel, is this helping?
Yes, very much, sir. Thank you.
You
I have a
bet.
question.
Yes,
Go ahead.
sir.
In regards to that, so normally, like, if we do a group intro, usually I'm the one who does the actual intro, the physical part on the mats, and then Master Lap and Miss Rachel will be there so that when they can talk to the parents while I'm doing the intro, and then afterwards we all three kind of talk to them about signing up or coming up for their next class. So it should be in our uniforms. Like, is that?
Yeah, everybody in uniform.
Yeah, you gotta have the right culture. We were just talking about that with our really high level people yesterday. You know, the people that are really successful in the business always were very strict on making sure the culture is the culture. You know, the way they talk to each other, the way they dress, the way they, you know, and this is really relevant, especially for our new guys that are on the call. How you look, how you dress, how you act, everything should be congruent and based on the culture. And then when you do your sales, it matches what you're doing. And then the sales are not, they're not like all about money and all. I mean, they end up being about money, but you're asking for a higher dollar amount because your program's very valuable because you're congruent with the culture you're promoting. So everything should look and feel the same.
And remember, the 80% or even 90% of selling is from the floor. So be in a uniform. I don't want to have anybody working at my martial arts school that is not in a uniform as a martial artist. I don't care if it's a new staff member that's a white belt or a gold belt or whatever. They are what they are, but they're still a martial artist that is training towards a black belt. So they're part of the culture. They're part of the program. So when they talk to anybody, they in essence become an expert in that field.
Or you can create a uniform that's obviously a uniform that doesn't include the belt, right? Master Smith, with our quick start trainees, oftentimes I was putting them in like a polo shirt with martial arts pants and one thing or another. And they, it was branded and it was color coordinated and it looked just like what all the other staff were wearing, but it didn't scream out, I'm not wearing a belt, right? If you're wearing like a traditional Taekwondo top, if you're not wearing a belt, it screams that out. You can do it that way as well if you have people who aren't black belts or brown belts at least. But yeah, I mean, you go back to what Master Moody said is you're always looking to set the tone of the way they're thinking about who you are, right? And you want to be martial arts instructor / admissions director, and admission director not at the local 2-year community college, but at Harvard, right? So your conversations with them never want to come across as you're trying to pitch them doing it because they have this financial deal going on. You want it to be you're screening them, they're proving to you, you're guiding them through the process. You're a martial artist that can answer their questions about the martial arts development process / admissions counselor, looking for them to validate and kind of prove without coming across as arrogant that they'd be a good fit in the student body. That's the attitude you want to have all the way through, right? When you get too much into financial pitches, especially when it starts to become complicated and when you start talking too much about money, is it comes across as this is a sales pitch, and by the way, get today's blue light special, right? And it starts anchoring them in more like Kmart than it does, I'm registering at Harvard. You want to be very careful about how that tonality and that presentation comes across. Does that make sense? And it makes a big, the process, by the way, not only fixes the conversion rate, you get a much higher percentage that convert, but also fixes the retention and the renewal rate, right? Because if they were dealt with the right way to begin with, they don't come up to the renewal thinking, I want to do, let's make a deal. And the relationship they built with you to begin with is based on more of a longer term commitment. Does that make sense? And again, I'll just reiterate, you guys are probably $70 a month cheaper than you should be or more. So you can bump the tuition rate by 50% and be fine. Maybe a tick more than that.
Yeah, and again, I'd like to get the minimum up over 3 digits, because then when you go to your upgrade, it's 3 digits. You know, that's a really critical thing for you guys, like immediately. Otherwise, I think your upgrade rates or your renewal rates will be better if you do that psychologically.
Yeah, plus the retention rate overall. You know, of course, the two are interchangeable, but you know,
absolutely,
it'll help in both ways.
Yeah, 3 digits in their case where it's 2 weeks.
Yeah, and again,
Question, please.
Go ahead.
I just had a question on the when you have these enrollments, when you're offering discounts, how do you handle the others who have not been given discounts? So they hear, oh, well, I paid $300 less for my enrollment, and so how do you handle the I guess if there is any kind of potential problem with others hearing that they did not get the discount?
Well, Derek, one is you never offer the next person in the door less than the last person, right? So I mean, here's my question: what are you charging now?
What am I charging?
Yeah, new enrollment. What's the?
Oh, so we're in the 400 for initial.
Yeah.
And then 49 weekly.
49 weekly?
Yes.
Why are you doing weekly?
I think it's great. I capture the money faster than waiting an entire month. I just like the receivables coming faster that way.
Okay. Well I don't like
it doesn't come faster because you're getting 49 over 4 weeks rather than getting 200 up front for the month.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Ultimately you're spreading it out over the 2 weeks, and I mean, you know, pricing wise you're fine. Again, most of our higher level people are around 247 or up per month now, but I don't like weekly, and I don't like twice a month. I had this conversation with Dan Kennedy and Bill Glazier, who are, you know, big marketing gurus if you ever run into them. And on a lot of their programs, they were actually trying to go to every other month. And their argument was, you know, when they sit down and go through the credit card statement or the bank statement, the more charges they see, the more irritation they have. And I think there's some validity to thinking that way, is you don't want them to see a huge number of charges all the way along. But to be responsive to the original question, Derek, is if the last student you enrolled paid $400 down and paid $49 a week, then, you know, have the next one be, it's normally $800 to enroll, but if you go ahead and finalize the enrollment at the second class, we give you a $400 discount. So it's $400 initially. Are you doing plus the 4 month, or is it just 400?
Plus the full month. So it's a little bit, I guess.
How much are they?
More.
How much are they actually paying when they sign the enrollment?
So they it varies. So if the $600 for the first month, I guess, if you consider the initial and then the weekly amounts.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, no. When the day I enroll, if I give you a credit card right then and there, how much am I giving the credit card for?
Oh, okay. So just for the 400.
Okay. Well, so then what I said, what I'm always doing, by the way, if I say normally it's $600 to enroll, we give you a $300 discount. What I'm doing is it's $300 plus the first month. So we would be doing $300 plus $247. It's $547 initially, and then it's $247 a month. Okay, that's different from what you're doing, but it makes what I'm saying easier. Is if the last student did $400 down and then $49 a week, then you just say it's normally going to be $800. If you register today, we give you a $400 discount. So therefore, it is $400 initially, and then if you want to do the weekly crap, I mean, it's $67 a week. And now everybody in the past paid less than the next person through the door.
Okay.
That makes sense. In other words, I will never do an offer, whether it's a renewal or an enrollment, that's less than they paid last month, right? I'll never have the blue light special where you bought the blender for $300 and this month you can get it for $100, right? It's always going to be based upon the future increments, not based, not less than what the past was.
It's always going to be an increase.
Yeah.
Whether it's go up, not down.
Yeah, whether it's a renewal or an enrollment, right? So I can do the same thing on a renewal, and there's a discounted rate at White Belt. But if I have a whole bunch of people who are already paying, say, $397 a month, I'm going to have the White Belt discount be that, and then have it bump up from there if they fail to take advantage of it. Does that make sense, Derek?
Yep, I hear you.
I would get rid of the weekly thing, though. The only reason I would ever do weekly is, or even bi-weekly, is if you had a demographic that, you know, got paid in cash weekly, you know, you might need that in order to do it. Or if you had somebody who has a debit card and their daily limit isn't high enough for that. But other than that, you know, you're not going to, when they look at the bank statement or they look at the credit card, they're not going to have a warmer feeling because the charges are less when there's 5 of them this month, right? And it's, again, my argument against the every 2 weeks. The every 2 weeks, you know, started in Australia because they think in terms of fortnights. You know, you're going to pay $89 every fortnight, which is 2 weeks. But the U.S., Canada, people don't use that language. They don't think that way. So the first month that they have 3 charges that month rather than 2 charges that month, you have a point at which you have to explain it. You have to review, and I don't particularly like that. Plus, frankly, in a pure business sense, all of our expenses are once a month, right? You have the utility bill, you have the phone bill, you have the rent. I always do payroll once a month. I don't do weekly or biweekly payroll. So I just assume, you know, get a check, you know, get $50,000 in, pay all the bills, have what's ever left over, and then everything that comes in is down payments and so forth. The rest of the month is additional profit.
And if you did it monthly, Derek, it would be easy to convert those, because if you told them it would be 12 payments of 200 instead of 49 a month, the 49 a month, they're going to have to pay for 52 weeks. If they pay the 12 months, they only have to pay for 48.
Yeah, I would argue that's even confusing, but yeah, I understand the logic. I wouldn't mess with any of the current ones except get them renewed, and then on the renewal, just, you know, have a monthly tuition rate. And if they're already used to $49 a week, you can say, you know, the tuition's going to be $97 a week. What we do is we bill it once a month for you know, $397, rather than, you know, use that terminology if you want.
Okay. All right. Good points.
Yeah. Part of what, and it's a topic for a different day at a different level, but part of what we want to do is simplify, right? And I see people who will, you know, like nowadays, log into their bank account statement, look at their bills, and pay their bills like every day, or pay their bills twice a week. No, I want to deal with paying the bills, rent, utilities, everything, first of the month, period, right? I don't care when they say it's going to be due. I'll either pay it a little early, or I'll pay a little late, or I'll get them to change the billing date. But I just want to deal with that once a month. Why? I don't have to mess with it the rest of the month. I want to have the payments all come in on the same time every month. Then I know 4 or 5 days later, if the ACH didn't clear or the credit card didn't clear, here's the ones I need to deal with. The rest of it I don't need to deal with. I don't have to be going and looking at the whole list every week to see which ones didn't go through this week and so forth, right? But I would rather it be all the billing hits once a month. I pay all the bills once a month. I don't have to think about that, but once a month. I don't have to think about the declines except for once a month. And I have a date that I know. I just put it repetitiously in my calendar that's when it's going to be. Because you can get bogged down in irrelevancies, and you can get bogged down in sales tax reports and putzing around with payroll every week or every 2 weeks. And it's easy to come up with excuses. Well, my students like it better that way. My staff doesn't have to go this long between getting paid. Well, make it an efficient business system. Go ahead.
Let me push back for 1 second.
Feel free.
You think of car companies. When you watch a car commercial, they typically present the pricing in monthly terms. No one, I like cars. If you're going to consider like a really expensive car, most consumers, they look at the monthly rate. They're not looking at the entire cost of the car. And it just seems psychologically easier to swallow something that's, I don't know, $600 a month or $800 a month rather than whatever, the total cost of the car. So just from that point of view, I've had people, when I give them pricing on a weekly basis that's smaller, they'll say, oh, that's not so bad. Even though they thought, oh, it's over $200 a month or whatever it is, $198. It seems expensive to them. But when they consider it in a smaller increment, it doesn't seem that bad and much more able to, they can, I don't know, it's just one, just one thought there.
Yeah, I mean, if you just said it runs about $49 a week, and we pay that on a monthly basis. Then you never had to use that big number, and they do the math in their head. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, I would eliminate it from the enrollment process altogether. And Derek, you just used an example of the industry whose sales process has a worse reputation than the U.S. Congress, right? When people talk about sleazy salespeople, it's used car salesmen followed by news car salesmen are the two sleaziest initial emotional reactions that you get, right? So I think you are right in that if it's a purchase of $1 million home, or if it's a $100,000 Porsche, or if it's a $25,000 Hyundai, although they become aspirational, I'm told. So, a $45,000 Hyundai. People are thinking, most, not all, but they're thinking in terms of what's the monthly lease or payment. Same thing with a mortgage. They're thinking that way. But again, the example you used is, can I fit it into my monthly budget? I've never seen Mercedes present the new S-Coupe as it's $179 a week, right? They're always presenting it as a monthly number, because not everywhere, but in the U.S. and Canada, folks are thinking about what their budget is on a monthly basis, not on a weekly basis. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
I mean, think about it in a different way. Do you have any bill, anything that you pay, Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover, utility bill, phone bill, anything from the rent-a-center where you have no credit and no job and are renting the sofa? Do you have any legitimate creditor who's billing you anything but monthly?
Yeah.
I mean, nothing, right? You don't get billed for your cell phone weekly. You don't get billed. The only place that anybody does weekly are broke people. People who don't have a checking account, don't have a credit card, don't have any credit. They're charging them 100% over retail, knowing that they're going to get a 50% default rate. And they're letting them buy a Mac laptop for $4,000 or a sofa for their living room for $5,000. And you're right, they're never thinking about the total because they're too broke and too stupid to think that way. But that's the only segment of the population that operates in that mode, right? Everybody else is paying everything monthly, including the example you just gave us, right? Again, I like cars, and when I go buy a car, I'm just thinking about what the total value of the car is, and I'm smart enough to do everything else in my head, and I try not to have car payments. But you're right that most people are thinking, I can get that Hyundai for $197 a month, or I can get this Cadillac for $397 a month, and they're comparing that. That is an accurate statement, I believe. But that's like the industry with the worst reputation. They're aggressively working on fixing their reputation, but they have the sleaziest reputation of anybody in a sales short of timeshares. The only one you could get worse than that would be the guys that are selling timeshares at the Acapulco resort.
Well, you get a free breakfast.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, sorry.
Any last questions today before we ring off? And by the way, we started the meeting with most of the people on the meeting are our current ongoing members. I see now that we have Derek is certainly to include you, people who aren't members. Rudy, welcome to the club, by the way. So our French Canadian. We have a bunch of Canadians now. Matt Smith, do we have two or one French Canadian?
Well, originally I was French, sir.
There you go. So there we have. That's right. And including.
That's for Master Oliver. I'm married to a Canadian.
An Iraqi Canadian American. There you go. Okay. Who speaks 7 languages, last I knew, and questions whether you speak English.
That's because I speak Texan.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know which is worse, speaking Washington, D.C. or Texan. Yeah. But I long ago abandoned anything resembling my Oklahoma accent or vocabulary.
I have a question. Can I ask a quick question?
Go ahead.
We have a trial that's ending right now, and so the kids will be starting on Monday for their class. So that means we have 2 weeks left in June. And what do you think about prorating versus just crediting the rest of the month and they start paying in July?
What do you mean a trial?
So our kids, it's not unlike what you do, except it's a little more compressed. We do a 3-day trial, so 3 days of intro classes.
Okay.
Our process is very similar to what you do, but again, they're just like 3 days in a row. So everybody by today will be enrolled. It's rare that we lose somebody.
Okay.
Sorry. But just before I really break down the prices for them tonight, I just wanted to see what you thought about prorating the rest of June versus just credit the next 2 weeks and they just start their monthly payment in July.
I really never think about it that way, right? If I'm doing the, let's say that this version I mentioned before of we give you a $300 discount if you register to any of that, I'm going to do the $300 in the first month, and then the next payment's going to start July 1st. Some portion of them are going to say, oh, that's only 2.5 weeks. I can't do that. I'm going to say, okay, would August 1st be better? Yeah, that would work better. Okay, fine. I'll have it start on August 1st.
It's going to be 12 payments, whether they do one now or one a little later, a couple of weeks.
Well, and the other thing is just the language of prorated June. I had to ask you twice. Anything that makes it complicated, right?
I agree.
It gets to be an impediment, right? So, right. And you're doing it one-on-one with each of them, I assume.
Yes.
So you do the discount, the down payment, and the first payment, and then you show them, and then I schedule it. You pay the deposit on your Visa. I schedule the monthly to go on the Visa. We have the next tuition payments on July 1st. And, sometimes I'll ask them if it's like the 20th, I'll say, will that work for the budget? And, they'll either say yes or no. If they say, oh, no, can I do that in the middle of the month? I'll say, well, why don't we just do August 1st? Because what am I saying? I like all my billing to be the same day.
Right.
So, whether I give them 6 weeks or 2 weeks, I don't care, right? I'd rather have it a little earlier, which is why I default to that. And going back to what Derek said, you have good retention, good renewal rates, a solid program. You're paying all your bills monthly. You're receiving the tuition monthly. You're not scrambling to get an extra week out of them before they drop out or whatever. It all works out in the end.
Right.
Mr. Oliver, it might also be relevant. I think some people are thinking about this trial, like if you've got 2 weeks left or 3 weeks left or 4 weeks left in the offer or the so-called initial, what you're trying to do to get them in. and you're giving some sort of credit, be careful about giving. We just give the same amount of credit. No matter what they brought in, they just get X dollars off of the down payment. So be careful about, if you do it for longer, you get less credit. In other words, like, for example, we had a lot of people with Groupon saying, if you signed up now, you got $500 credit. If you signed up in a week, you got $400 credit. If you signed up in 3 weeks, you got, $300 credit, or there's some decreasing amount. That's just it's a recipe to make them wait. Because
you want to be a yes or no now or not.
Yeah, if you sign up now, you get $500 credit. If you wait, it's going to be the full price.
Yeah.
Period. Period.
Just a note there. I had staff that were sort of thinking in the mindset she is there, where a lot of people, especially when they're first running their schools, they're thinking you're paying by the month. You pay for June, you pay for August, when really the case is you're signing up for a year and you're making an X number of payments, 12 payments. And so quit thinking about it, and was what I told my staff, as it's a month by month thing. If my guys sign up in June 12th, it goes to June 12th next year. It's not prorated 2 weeks. And so I just got everyone thinking in that mindset. And if their first payments, like you said, not for 6 weeks or 8 weeks because they're in financial difficulty, it's like you buy a couch and no payments till June, but you still end up paying for the couch, kind of thing. It doesn't really matter when they start, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I would enhance that with, Mark, and I agree with what you said, is when they're enrolling, really they're enrolling to train to black belt or beyond, but you're starting with a trial enrollment to evaluate them. And I don't even talk about this is going to take you to June 15th next year. This is a trial enrollment. It's about a quarter of the way to black belt. And then we'll see if you qualify for us to commit ourselves to get you to black belt in the first couple months. And that little change in terminology, one, it changes the way the staff thinks, because it's so important for, because they won't do the renewal because they'll say, well, I got until next June. I can get to them whenever. Well, no, you can't get to them whenever. You get to them when they're ready, and beyond they're ready, they're either, it's the old, you're either green and growing or ripe and rotting. If you don't get to them when they're ready, they don't get better. They just die on the vine. So that's the only thing I would add, but that's exactly right. It's just a 12-month enrollment. And the other aspect of what you said, Mark, that's extremely valuable for everybody to anchor in is if a student is thinking, I pay in July for July lessons, then they're gone to grandmother's for 3 weeks. They think, well, I shouldn't have to pay for July. But if they're thinking that this is a program ongoing to get to black belt, oh, no problem. We'll just add the lessons that you missed to the tail end. What we'll try to do is do some makeup classes before you go, some makeup classes before you leave. After you come back, we want to keep you on track for, your testing to black belt and beyond, right? And for your next belt. So it changes the dynamic of how you're talking about them.
Exactly.
Yeah, everybody needs to get that language in. That language is critical. You need to be talking about that, not in terms of months, not in terms of it's about goals and everything else. That's critical. And Master Oliver, the way I always ask it is, the trick question is, well, how much is your program? Like if I ask Mark, well, how much is your program?
Yeah.
Mark, how much is your program?
I'll end up usually telling them not the price right away. I'll say, well, our program includes a lot of different things. So, but if you're looking at the actual cost of the program, works out you're paying about $12 class. Okay.
Okay, well that's one way, but usually people answer that it's $197 a month or $247 a month.
Yeah, and I actually try to stay away from that.
Actually,
defer the until right at the last second.
Internally, you're missing what I'm saying. Internally, if I ask my staff how much is the program, they know internally it's $3,200 a month or $3,200 or it's whatever. So it's how much is the basic program? It's $3,200. They know that's how much the program is.
Yeah.
That's the answer internally. I'm not talking about a staff thing. I mean a student or a parent discussion.
I understand what you're saying now.
Yeah, if you ask the staff, they need to answer that question. How much is the program? I don't want them to answer $247 a month. I want them to answer it's $3,100.
Right. Yeah.
So that's
good.
No, I just said that's a trick question. You ask people and the staff, and they go, "Oh, it's $247," because they've been used to presenting that way. Even my staff will do that too. And I go, "No, it's $3,400. It's $600 down and $247 a month." And so it's whatever that works out to.
Right.
Well, don't use that with the students.
No, I don't.
Okay, so
That's what I was getting at. So-
in conclusion today, since most everybody on here are our Martial Arts Wealth members, we're going to have our meeting tomorrow. Probably, remind me of the name of the software. I keep butchering it, Master Moody.
Mind Me Mobile.
Mind Me, not Meet Me. I guess is a dating site or something. I typed in that and said, well, it doesn't look right. Mind Me Mobile.
That's what we use. Yeah, that's what we use for Schedule Once. Meetme.so/. But Mind Me Mobile.
That's where I got it. So
And,
Mind Me Mobile. Now,
we have,
hold the thought for a second, Master Smith. So for members tomorrow, we'll have the Mind Me mobile guys probably. Joe Gallia, some of you may know Joe, and Jeff Cohen, who founders of Member Solutions and whatever the other company was called. But presumably they'll be on there tomorrow. Anybody who's not a member give Bob a call. Bob, what's your number?
720-256-0208. 720-256-0208.
Yeah, we'd love to talk to you about, continuing the relationship after these are done pretty quick. But
Jesse Thornton's on too, so I didn't see him last week on here. Is there anything that we can answer for you, Jesse, today?
Well, and let me finish my thought first, Master Smith, and we'll go back to that if you don't mind. But what I was saying is everybody who's not a member, we're going to be in New York City on August 6th, on Monday at the Marriott Marquis. Everybody who is an advanced member with us, we're going to be at West Point the days preceding that. So everybody who's in our mastery and leadership, we're doing behind the scenes at West Point. For everybody who's not, we'll give you the next quick start meeting. But certainly, Derek and Jesse, we'd love to chat with you about, continuing on beyond this. But you go back to that, Master Smith. So you had a question for Jesse before we ring off.
I was just seeing if there was something that we could answer for Jesse that would help him. And I think he's muted, and I couldn't unmute him because he had his audio off anyway.
Yeah, he's not muted.
Okay.
Just one clarification, if I could, just 2 seconds.
Go ahead.
It was 600 down.
You kind of broke up on that.
And in addition to that, it was 247 you paid in that. Master Moody said 600 down and 247 for that first month. So altogether, the 847 will be swiped off their card. Is that correct? Is that how I?
Well, that's Derek, and Derek, you got a little rough of a connection. But normally we're doing something like it. The presentation is a 600 initially, and we'll give you a $300 discount if you enroll today. So it's 300 plus the first month. Or the example I used for you, because of the response of your question, was 800. We give you a $400 discount, so it's 400 plus the first month, right? I would like.
I'll call Bob. Thanks.
Yeah, I would like to be getting 500 or 600 initially with the enrollment, not just the first month. But I present the initial enrollment as it's this month and then the first month. And even if I'm giving them credit, I'm saying I'm giving you the 6 weeks because of the other offer, I'm tacking that on at the end.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
You ready, Jesse?
Yes, sir.
You coming to this weekend?
Yes, I'll be at the battle.
Okay, good. Steve and I will be there.
All right, well, I'll just ask you guys my question there.
Go ahead. You gonna ask it?
I said I'll ask my question to you guys there because.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, well, at that, let's call it a day. And
I know you guys got to go, and I've got class here.
Very good. Okay, thanks everybody. Talk to you soon.
Hey, God bless.
And everybody else will see you in New York.
Yes, sir.
Is that a 10-4, Master Oliver? Okay, 10-4, guys. Over and out.
Do you want to leave it?
Thank you. Bye.